permanent representatives to NATO, heads of mission in Spain, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are commemorating a very special date for Spain. On May 30th, 1982, Spain became the 30th member of the 16th member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And we began to share our world with like-minded countries that share a way of living in the world with democracy, societies that have chosen to govern ourselves with liberty and justice, equality and political pluralism. This sense of belonging fulfills a mission of far-reaching importance. It allows us to be what we are, and it guarantees that Spain will be whatever it wants to be. Because we're not only speaking of a military alliance, which is of course important, but a front that is united in its defense of the principles that are the source of our prosperity and the well-being of our peoples. For us, that accession meant much more than merely multilateral bureaucracy. Spain embarked on a new and successful journey after decades of darkness and isolation because of Franco's dictatorship. And we did it full of strength, hope, but also with uncertainties of many things that came from our nearest past, inertia, fears. This accession was due to the joint effort of the then President of the Government of Spain, Carlos Sotelo, and the then Secretary General of NATO, Joseph Luns, both now deceased. So today I would like us to also remember them together with President Adolfo Suarez. But the young democracy that we were wanted more. We first had to recognize the heated debate in Spanish society about the joining of NATO and the terms under which Spain would participate in NATO. And it was President González who very bravely took on the challenge of asking our citizens for their opinion about staying in the alliance with a referendum. The outcome, more than 52% of votes in favor of staying, made Spain the first NATO country that had decided to join it by popular vote, legitimating our entry, the entry that today we commemorate. And Spain wanted to decide on its own, and it decided something that was very simple, to return to our natural area in the world order, a space of safety and security and progress, a space of guarantees that protected it against any challenge that would endanger our recently reconquered freedom. Afterwards, it was President José María Aznar who took it one step further, and Spain joined the military structure of NATO. And it was an initiative that coincided with Javier Solana's mandate as Secretary General of NATO and implemented by his successor, Lord Robertson. After this integration, on January 1st, 1999, our country became an active member of the command structure of NATO. In 2010, the new strategic concept of Lisbon was approved, which still guides the alliance under the presidency of José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, leading its participation in its preparation. However, the illegal annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 totally changed the picture for which this strategic concept was created, as it was set forth at the Wales summit, in which President Mariano Rajoy and Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen were participants and leaders. Your Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, very many of the protagonists of these last 40 years are here with us today, and I very wholeheartily thank them for the effort of coming to Madrid. And all this has marked, paved the way it will be the second time in our history that a NATO summit will be held in NATO, in Madrid, Spain's capital. Spain has lived its membership in a very natural way. It has been most natural. Together, we have taken on, with success, the challenge of modernizing our armed forces. We have known how to use this opportunity with a great degree of commitment and professionality. In addition, Spain has made contributions that have been ever-growing in a very significant way to the alliance, committing units to the response forces and participating in most operations and missions. NATO has helped us to forge Spain's relationship with the West, and especially the transatlantic bond that I think has become even more important today with the United States and also Canada. And in addition, NATO has contributed enormously to a basic public good to which we attach ever-growing importance: safety and security. The democracy of our societies, the prosperity our citizens enjoy, above all, require security, because if not, we are in danger. And all our basics run the risk of collapsing. And these last tragical months, we've seen this with our own eyes. We are confronting what has probably been the greatest challenge to NATO in its recent history, and also the European Union, such importance to Spain, but in general to the international order we built in these last decades, the atrocities committed in the war in Ukraine, the brutality of the destruction, the unjustifiable death of innocent victims lead us to condemn without all the actions of unreservedly all the actions of President Putin in a violation of international law. He will not achieve his objectives. We have shown him, and we will continue to do so, that our support to Ukraine is most robust and that it will not fail. From the beginning, we have left it very clear that our unity, our cohesion amongst ourselves, the allies, is the best deterrence that NATO has to prevent an escalation of the conflict. Because unleashing this war has been the only way that President Putin has found to put a stop to the legitimate aspirations of the countries that believe in democracy, in the rule of law, in respecting human rights, solidarity, and peace. And he's done so for one single reason: because the threat that democracy poses to him, to his authoritarian regime, is all that matters to him. And that's why the enemies of open societies that we, the allies, defend can make the right decisions and define our most immediate future. The first is to preserve the unity of all of us who believe in democracy, in rule of law, the international order that is rules-based and that protect our civil rights and freedoms, our political rights and freedoms. The ties that unite NATO allies with EU allies and many other members of the international community are born from this shared feeling of justice and equality, and express determination with which we are going to defend our principles and values. And also it is essential, therefore, this union to strengthen our security. The war in Ukraine has opened the eyes of our societies, also Spain's. Many people have understood that our safety and security are not guaranteed in an indefinite way. The worst conditions can happen very quickly before our eyes and bring everything down, our reality. And that is why it is necessary to make a coordinated and daily effort to preserve it. Now, our security is threatened by Putin's regime, and we need to support the Ukraine in a resolved and decisive way. This is the only way to ensure the future of Europe. The world we have built has a future, and it is essential that we reinforce our deterrence capacity, and that requires modern, capable, and available military capabilities that can only be acquired by increasing our investment in defense. And we are very aware of that, but I also know that this is something that we need to convey to our societies, that we do need to make that effort, because the cost of not doing so is what is going to endanger our freedom and our model of peaceful coexistence and democracy. One of the main consequences of Putin's war, contrary to his strategic objectives at the beginning of the conflict, has been this renewing and revitalizing the Atlantic Alliance. In a few weeks' time, we will be holding here what may perhaps be one of the most important and transcendental summits in its 73 years of existence. In Madrid, we will be defining the strategy of organization, the strategic concept for the coming decade, with the candidacies of Sweden and Finland, two consolidated democracies whose contribution to the Atlantic Alliance will be of enormous value. In addition, it will be the time to together promote the 360-degree strategy to project a powerful message once again of unity and complementarity between the European Union and NATO, a union that today is even more essential to the defense of our model of coexistence, because there is no other way. If we want to offer a legacy of freedom, democracy, and peace to the coming generation, our children, our grandchildren, we must make decisions that reinforce our alliance and endow it with the tools and capabilities that are required. And we need, in short, to show our determination to make the alliance a stronger and more effective alliance in the 21st century. The new strategic concept of Madrid is our first opportunity, and I would say that it has been very meditated and reached by consensus to confront and to look at the future with decisiveness, and also in Europe to respond to old threats that we thought in Europe we had overcome forever. I would like to point out that this new strategic concept is not going to limit itself to the conventional military sphere, because of the growing importance of hybrid threats, climate crisis, food emergency crises, and others, and which will go at this strategic concept will go well beyond that. The organization of the summit is an enormous responsibility, Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, for Spain, which takes on this responsibility with pride and being very aware of how important it is. But we also understand that it is a great opportunity to show Spaniards the advantages of having belonged to the organization for 40 years and sharing with it the strategic debates for the future, because there is a long way ahead in the future that we need to cover, and we want to do so together, hand in hand with our fellow citizens who we defend and with whom we share our lives. So 40 years later, those of us who have inherited all the efforts of preceding presidents of the government and secretary generals that are with us here today, we can guarantee that belonging to NATO is fundamental to guarantee what we are, our way of life, our stability, and our future. We, the Allies, have chosen to be on the, we could say, right side of history, defending peace, international law, and doing so out of conviction and with no fear, promoting everything that the Allies, we the Allies, defend, which is a world that is more just, more prosperous, and safer. So, happy anniversary, and thank you all very much.
It is a great honor to have the Secretary General of NATO amongst us. Please welcome Mr. Jens Stoltenberg to the floor.
Your Majesty, Prime Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is really an honor and pleasure to be here today with you to celebrate 40 years of Spain within the NATO alliance. And I would like to thank His Majesty King Felipe for his strong personal commitment to our transatlantic alliance, to our armed forces, and to our security. In the late 1970s, after dark decades of dictatorship, Spain sought a new path, one committed to freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. Values that lie at the heart of the NATO alliance. And in 1982, Spain became our 16th member, proudly joining a family of free, democratic nations across Europe and North America. And let me thank my predecessors who join us today. Willy Claes, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, Lord Robertson, Javier Solana, and Jaap de Hoop Scheffer, who could not be with us today. You steered our alliance through 4 decades of incredible change. From the height of the Cold War to the fall of the Berlin Wall. From the Balkans wars to 9/11. And from Afghanistan to the illegal annexation of Crimea. Throughout these 4 decades, Spain has stood united with its NATO allies in maintaining security across the Euro-Atlantic area, protecting our people and our shared values, and helping to change and adapt our alliance every time the world changed and new challenges arose. With both Mediterranean and Atlantic coasts, Spain holds a vital strategic position, resting at the crossroads between Europe, Africa, and North America. It is both a border between continents and a bridge between cultures. As such, it plays a central role in protecting us from threats from all points of the compass. Your membership in NATO has made our military more modern, more capable, and more deployable. Over the past 4 decades, Spain has contributed greatly to our alliance. You play a key role in NATO's missions and operations. Spanish forces have helped maintain the stability of the Western Balkans through NATO missions in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in Kosovo. They contributed over many years to our mission in Afghanistan, and I thank and honor all those who served so bravely there. Those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and their families and loved ones. Today, Spanish soldiers are a crucial part of NATO's training mission in Iraq to help ensure Daesh never returns. Spanish pilots take part in Baltic air policing. Spanish sailors serve in our maritime missions, and Spain hosts the Aegis ballistic missile defense ships in Rota. This shows that together we are ready to defend every inch of Allied territory from any threat, from any direction. Whenever I have met with Spanish service women and men, I'm always impressed by the dedication and professionalism. I met some of them recently with Prime Minister Sanchez when we visited NATO's battle group in Latvia, serving alongside Allied forces from both sides of the Atlantic. NATO solidarity in action. And therefore I also like to thank Prime Minister Sanchez for his personal leadership within our alliance. Pedro, your commitment to transatlantic security is and remains vital. And also many thanks to your predecessors for their support of NATO over many, many years. In response to Russia's brutal and unprovoked war in Ukraine, Spain is playing an important part in strengthening our deterrence and defense, deploying additional troops, ships and jets to strengthen NATO's defense of Europe. You are also providing critical support for Ukraine with security assistance and humanitarian aid to uphold Ukraine's right to self-defense enshrined in the UN Charter, help end the war and achieve the peaceful solution that Ukraine deserves and we all want. Back in 1997, Madrid hosted an historic summit. Hungary, Poland, and the Czech Republic were invited to open talks to join our alliance. Former adversaries became new friends. That summit marked a new age of hope and aspiration. NATO's open door and the European Union's enlargement helped spread freedom, democracy, and prosperity across Europe. It was and remains an historic success. Next month, Madrid will host another historic summit. This time, however, the context is very different. Not a fresh burst of freedom, but a cold blast of conflict. Russia is waging war of aggression against Ukraine. Authoritarian regimes seek to undermine the rules-based international order. China's coercive policies challenge our interests, security and values. And China has joined Russia in openly contesting the right of each and every country to choose its own path. We also face brutal terrorism, instability from the south, sophisticated cyber attacks, disruptive new technologies, nuclear proliferation, and the security consequences of climate change. Together, these challenge our security and our democratic way of life. At the Madrid summit, we will chart the way ahead for the next decade. We will reset our deterrence and defense for a more dangerous world. We will deepen our cooperation with like-minded countries and organizations, including the European Union and countries in the Indo-Pacific. We will also be joined by Finland and Sweden, who have just made historic applications to join our alliance. The Madrid summit is an important opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to NATO's values and the vital importance of Europe and North America working together in NATO. As we look to the future, Spain will continue to play a key role in our alliance, because in this age of increasing global competition, our unity is our strength. Thank you so much.
Now it's my honor to invite the secretaries to the stage. Good morning, Mr. Lord Robertson, Mr. Willy Klaas, Mr. Javier Solana, Mr. Ander Fogh Rasmussen. Good morning. Today we're very proud to be celebrating the anniversary of Spain's entry into NATO. 40 years have passed since the historic protocol formalizing this membership was signed. Modern Spain is explained by its determination to position itself within the European institutional architecture. Its democratic transition culminated with entry into NATO and the European Union.